So I've decided to do a random brush challenge to paint a portrait using my noise brush pack. So I have already listed like all the brushes in this random generator app, and I'm just going to press the generate button to generate a brush for me randomly. And this is the brush that they chose for me. So recently I've launched my brand new noise brush pack, which is a brush pack full of brushes that has a lot of textures, and I wanted to challenge myself to do something a little bit different. So the challenge is one brush only across the paint tool, eraser and the smudge tool. No modifications allowed from start to finish, and I will reveal the painting at the end. And now, using the brush that I've picked, I'm gonna see what techniques I can use with this brush. So the brush in question is this one, Fat Medium from my noise brush pack. I created this brush because it's soft and there's a lot of texture. So basically everything is gonna be this brush. The smudge and the erase as well. So when I erase, it will be soft, and when I smudge, it will also be soft. And that is the issue. And I think the challenge is also to not modify the brush. So now right now, I'm gonna try some scenarios and see if I can even sketch anything. I think sketching should be okay. So if sketching is okay, the only issue is hard edges. So I think we can mitigate that by using the selection tool. So let's see. If I were to draw a shape, feather it, and if I just erase. So this would have to be the way that I work, to use the selection freehand tool to get hard edges. I suppose I can also just color fill. Oh, it works. Okay, ready? So maybe I can increase this, and wow, it actually modifies the coloring already. Oh, good. Now let's talk about the artwork. So this would be the reference. So now I'm actually sketching and painting in the values using the selection and the brush. I would draw the shape out with the selection tool and then slowly brush the soft edges inside these shapes. Other than using the selection tool, I would also use the brush freehand to sketch in soft shapes like this. This brush is really good for soft circular shapes, especially for light source. So I love to do highlights with this brush. But if I want precise shapes, it's not so good, and I have to do a lot of selection, so it's really slow for me to work with this brush. I think it's really crucial to work from big to small when it comes to this brush, and not so much of working from value to value. But here I was just working value to value and didn't really care that much about the shapes. You can see here in my layers, I have labeled all the values that I have, like from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are just values and nothing to do with shapes. Usually I would leave the highlights to the end of the process, but this time I'm just putting it all in. After painting all the values in, you can see on my layers organization, all labeled with the value numbers. Now for every single layer, we're going to create a new layer above it and set the blending mode to color. So we'll drop our colors in here, and then we'll repeat for every single layer. And if that layer has some shapes in it, we're going to apply a clipping mask to it as well. So by turning on clipping mask, we are going to make sure that the colors only affect the areas that are already painted. So look carefully. There we go, the clipping mask. So when we use the color blending mode, any colors that we drop in is just going to change the color and the chroma, but leave the values the same. So this won't disturb the value painting that we already have. It will just change the color and the chroma. Well, not only that, because each layer is just one value and it's a value shape, we already painted the shape with the brush that's hard and soft edges. We don't have to worry about values, and we don't have to worry about the shapes anymore, which means the brush is not going to hinder our progress or slow us down. We are just going to have to color in everything that we have worked so hard for. As for the colors, they are mostly a warmer version of the reference and a more tan version when it comes to her skin tone. The darker mid-tones on the face are usually warmer and red in color, and that is the color that I'm working on now.
Adding red is a very important part of the portrait painting process because it really adds life to the face. Majority of the hard work was already done during the value painting, where we used a lot of selections and worked with creating hard edges and having soft edges as well. And we also worked with figuring out all the values. Right now it's an easy task of just dropping colors in and not worry about anything else. The color gets more vibrant the closer I get to highlights. Also, if you want to have a quicker workflow, you don't have to color every single layer like I did. You can just create one layer above all the other layers. Then you can use that one layer to control the colors for all the layers below. The reason why I'm coloring every single value layer is because I wanted to maintain the integrity of the shape for all the value shapes that I've done so far. If I just use one layer to control all the colors, I will end up having a very messy color control layer, and this might affect the shapes that I have at the end of the day. But the downside of separating all the layers like this is that sometimes you see mistakes and it's very difficult to identify which layer has the mistake, and it's difficult to change every single one of them. So you're just gonna have to be patient and wait for the last final layer to fix things later on. Now I'm at the highlights layer already, and here I'll probably be trying to figure out what color the highlights are gonna be. So usually I'll just make selections and then use the hue, saturation and brightness tool to figure out the color and see which one gels with the painting more. I can spend a long time here, especially if I'm unsure about the colors of shadows versus highlights or certain objects or things like that. So I have about 3 more layers to color, and these are just like minor details that I've added extra layers for, like for the eyes or like tiny little shadows that I've missed before. After I'm done coloring every single layer, what I usually do is I would go to the settings and I'll copy the canvas, then I'll paste it. So this goes above all the other layers, and then in this layer, I can apply changes, like I can repaint it, I can recolor, I can smudge. There are some edges that need to be softened, some needs to be harder, and some colors that needs to be changed. So I would do all the changes in this layer. This is also the time where I would go to the curves tool to adjust the levels and the contrast for the portrait. Then I will create new layers with the color dodge blending mode to add highlights. So I'm just painting a generic color first for the highlight, then I can change the color for this highlight using the hue, saturation and brightness tool, and this is usually how I would work with the last final highlights that I want to put in. And finally, I will just retouch anything that needs retouching, but there isn't much because I don't have other brushes that I can play with. There's only so much I can do, and I can just adjust the levels one more time.
Now let's review the painting, and thank you for watching all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. It has been very challenging and I do not wish to repeat this ever again. I am a huge fan of hard edge brushes, and soft brushes are simply not for completing an entire painting at all. So if you'd like to see more of this content, remember to comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!